A trade war crisis averted. For now, President Trump calling off the 5% tariffs he threatened to levy against Mexico as punishment for the influx of migrants crossing the border. Now, the president tweeting, quote, "I am pleased to inform you that the United States of America has reached a signed agreement with Mexico. Mexico is promising to take steps aimed at slowing or stopping illegal immigration." All this happening as CNN learns the president's handpicked chief economic advisor, Larry Kudlow, once predicted Trump's brand of protectionist trade policy ideas, including tariffs on Mexico and China, would, quote, "destroy the dollar and trigger another recession." And he predicted this pretty recently. Here's Kudlow in 2015.
You slap a 25, 35% tariff on our leading trading partners like Mexico and China. We may not like them, sir, but tariffs and protectionism is not the answer. It will do incalculable damage to the American economy. Okay? We will cut off our nose to spite our face. And that is not the right policy. This will backfire on America and the rest of the world.
This will backfire. Incalculable damage. 3 years later, Kudlow was accepting a job in the White House. Joining us now, Andrew Kaczynski, senior editor of CNN's KFile. Andrew, Kudlow made those comments shortly after Trump launched his presidential campaign, and I understand you found other times Kudlow was critical about the president's trade ideas.
Yeah, that's right. He made these comments in June, July, and August of 2015. Trump had just launched for the presidency, and it really was kind of Kudlow's main critique that the president's trade policies, it was even worse than that clip we just watched. He said it could lead to another bad recession. It would cause all this horrible damage to consumers and businesses. And he even linked it to the Great Depression, to tariffs that were installed in the 1930s, saying high tariffs equal high taxes equal depression.
That's not all. He also said this is a direct quote. "How's this guy going to negotiate with anybody, whether it's China, whether it's Vladimir Putin, whether it's the mullahs? He can't even get the story right on Mexico." So you found he was highly critical of Trump's immigration policies, and Trump's criticism of Mexico on immigration issues.
Yeah, and that's what's so funny about this whole thing is because the whole issue with Mexico and tariffs this week, it all comes back to Mexico. The Trump administration is claiming that Mexico is not doing enough to stop undocumented immigration, and Kudlow, in fact, very harshly contradicts the president on that. Let's take a listen.
This anti-immigration thing has gone way too far. For example, all right, we'll take a break, but let me just get this in. For example, Donald Trump is blaming the government of Mexico several times for, sending us these terrible people. First of all, the government of Mexico has nothing to do with sending us anybody. Let's remember this before we get so protectionist. The United States and Mexico have very close relations. They're an important partner. They are our second biggest export market, right. Our third biggest trading market after Canada and Japan, and China rather, and literally millions of Americans go to Mexico for tourism and vacation.
Okay, so that was Kudlow. Then what's he saying now, and how does he explain actually working for this president if that's how he felt?
Well, that's actually so funny because when I called him on the phone and left a voicemail. He got back to me, and I read him all the clips, and there was sort of this long pause, and he goes, "Well, that was then, this is now." And he sort of tried to explain that he was just talking about worst-case scenarios. He claimed that he didn't think the China policy with the tariffs was damaging the economy. And he said basically that this was just hypothetical and that he stood by the president.
So he supports the president and his policies?
Supports the president now, back then, not so much.
Okay, he changed his mind, I guess. Andrew Kaczynski, thank you for that reporting.